Welcome to Audible Interlude, a G.I. Joe podcast. I'm your host, Dave West, codename Phantom Troublemaker.
And I am your co-host, Noel Wood, codename Crapshoot.
And I'm your Cobra intern that wishes someone had explained in advance that tango down means shoot your enemy, because I really did embarrass myself. Codename Legion Cub.
Now I want like a Fandango-esque Joe character who like dances into battle.
When I grabbed Major Blood for that twirl, it did not end well.
Follow us wherever you listen to your podcasts. Click that follow button and follow us on Instagram at Audible Interlude Podcast. You are watching the Needless Things YouTube channel. Our next live stream is March the 24th. Put it on your calendar. In general, we're live every other week, but I'll tell you right now, we go 2, 3, 4 week stretches sometimes where we just can't help ourselves. We have to come hang out with the people.
We are an ELO song. I'm
Indeed.
alive.
In general, on days that we're going live, we'll put a post up at Audible Interlude Podcast on Instagram asking for your input, the sound off post. This time we didn't do it because we have some leftover sound offs from a couple of weeks ago that we have to get to. But while you are at Audible Interlude Podcast on Instagram, go to the pinned stories and get yourselves some merch. The Cobra intern shirts are still selling like sweet little hot cakes. We've got other merchandise available as well, and it doesn't have to be a shirt. You can get a phone case, a coffee mug, a small pillow if you'd like. We are still working on the full-size Legion Cub body pillows, so just sit tight for those. Oh, you know what we should do? We should try to figure out how, since the Audible Interlude tactical shovel kind of never came together, which is 100% my fault. Maybe we should try to do a tactical shovel pillow.
Oh,
like an old wrestling buddy,
right.
but it's a shovel. Maybe that's the idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, Audible Interlude Podcast on Instagram. Go to the Pen Stories, get yourselves some merch, and if we see you in public with the merch, we'll give you a little something, a little complimentary itty bitty ditty bag. As I said, March 24th, our next live stream. What is happening? Wreck Ship 85, Road Pig John, and JJ Shoulder Height, which, by the way, JJ Shoulder Height, a huge asset last week here on the Needless Things YouTube channel, hanging out, answering questions, clarifying things for the people. And then look at our hero, Tom Henry in the super chat. That's the worst klaxon horn
$2 towards that fang
ever made. That's right.
That's what I feel like when it comes from Tom Henry, it's not a super chat, it's a super fang.
It's a super chopper.
There you go.
But think about the sacrifice he's making by adding to the super chat. You know this man has been saving his money for his fang for years now. Since Classified started in 2020, Tom Henry has been putting money aside in his road piggy bank, waiting for the fang to be released. But every once in a while, he pulls a little bit of that out and puts it towards Audible Interlude. And we thank you for that, Tom Henry. Scale Model Joe's in the house.
Probably the idea of a warthog bank.
That could actually be a thing, though.
Mm-hmm.
An actual warthog with a little slot, and then you have to smash it if you want to get your coins out later.
Yeah, I'm into that. All right, where are we? What's happening? Nothing much on. So Needless Things YouTube channel. At least 4 times a week, we've got content up. If you watched our Audible Interlude Toy Fair recap last week, we also did a Needless Things Toy Fair episode where we talked about all the non-Joe stuff, our non-Joe favorites. You can check out the video version right here on the channel, the audio version with a special introduction by me. that you can only get with the audio version is available wherever you get your podcast. I did a lot of talking about Mad Monster Party, which was a really, really fun convention I went to this past weekend. For the first time ever, I got a tattoo at a convention. I've always thought that was kind of sketchy.
Oh, I didn't even put 2 and 2 together when you said that you got a new tattoo.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So typically when you go to
tattoos at conventions,
it seems like because they're out on the floor in the midst of the people, and it's like ew. But here, the tattoo artists were all in a separate room, like down this corridor. And after talking to them, like they know what they're doing. This is the part of the
Sure.
guy that did my tattoo, which check out Lucky 13. Oh, hang on. Well, I'll drop it later because I'm going to be talking about it again. But he's got a contract with these conventions, and that's part of his business. Is he has artists he works with, and they go to these conventions, and they know what they're doing. Like they travel, they know how to keep things clean and safe, and it was a great experience. It was a horrible experience because tattoos hurt and they're expensive, but it was a great experience, very pleasant, hanging out in there for 3 hours straight, no breaks, because I don't take breaks during tattoos. I don't need my skin to remember what it feels like to not hurt. So yeah, Mad Monster Party, tons of fun. I got to meet Jeffrey Combs, Barbara Crampton, Ken Foree. I had a very sincere conversation with Henry Thomas about how much E.T. messed me up as a kid. We had. I wish I should have recorded it. Although what I should have done is reached out to have him on the show, because my gosh, that guy's career now. If you see he's going to be in something, you gotta watch it. Great.
Oh yeah, the Fall of the House of Usher on Netflix.
Yeah,
watch it. It's so good.
And Haunting of Hill House.
Oh,
both of those.
Okay.
Absolutely fantastic. He's been in a lot of great stuff. Anyway, we got to talk about G.I. Joe at some point. But first, we've got news, and it's not about G.I. Joe. Because
Ish.
We Joe adjacent.
Yeah. We used up a lot of the G.I. Joe news last time. And then we've got next Tuesday a new live stream from the Hasbro Pulse team. So this week is a little dry. Unless you guys have something I don't know about.
I don't know. Scale Model Joe's just said Everybody See Fans Hobby has announced a knockoff Fang. So I'm trying to look that up right now.
Yeah, see if you
because
can't
Fans
look
Hobby
up.
is like third-party Transformers.
Well, no, they're the ones. I think they're the ones who did that Skyhawk, aren't they?
Oh, okay.
Which, by the way, can I? Let me see. I have some commentary here, and some folks may not like it, and I'm real sorry about that. Excuse me, Air Eagle.
Yes.
Ooh, that is too big for the screen. Hang on.
Okay.
So this is the Fans Hobby Air Eagle, or Skyhawk, as it were. And yes, it is a big, giant Skyhawk. And people are very happy with it. And I'm happy that people are happy with it because it's pretty expensive. My take on it, it doesn't look like a classified Skyhawk. It looks like a giant Skyhawk. It doesn't.
Although, like, I just saw it on AliExpress for like $111.
Yeah, that's $111 for something that, to my eye, is not a classified Skyhawk. It lacks the detail and intricacy of a classified release. It just looks like a giant Skyhawk to me. For me and my personal tastes, this doesn't work. But anybody that loves it and got it, and if you got it, you better love it because you paid $100 whatever for it. It is $86.90 for the reissue. So $86.90 plus shipping whatever that it may end up being. If that's
when
worth
you
it to you, go
compare
for it.
that, when you compare that to something else we're going to be talking about here in a little bit,
Right.
that I can see what people like in it.
Oh, I
have a feeling that is a vehicle that Classified is going to get to.
Oh, I think so.
So I'm not going to jump at it. If I thought there was a chance that Classified would not, I definitely would get it.
So that look works for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Look, and I'm I may well be the odd person out here who doesn't perceive it as being up to snuff. And again, if you got it and you love it, I think that's great.
Now, this knot thing, let me see if I can share my screen.
Okay, I will unshare my screen now that I've said my piece.
Because I think
you will. I think that the Not Skyhawk it's kind of cool. It's one of those things that I have a feeling that if Classified continues for a few more years, it's probably one of the vehicles that'll wind up in the line. So I'll hold off on it. But
look, I agree that it's kind of cool. I agree with
let me make the picture bigger.
Oh, here we go. Oh boy, that's rough. So that looks like it's based off, like, as we were joking last time, that almost looks like it's based off of the Walmart Fang.
Yeah, it's how you felt about that Not Skyhawk is how I'm feeling right now about this Fang, because at least when it comes to their Transformers stuff, because I own quite a few of their pieces, they can do so much better. This is very angular. I don't know. It doesn't look like a Fang at all. It's almost like an Imaginext.
Looks like it was rendered for the PS1.
Rexship's got a good question here. Would you want an eventual Classified Skyhawk to come with Ace, lift ticket, or another pilot that we probably won't be getting their vehicle in Classified?
Well, definitely not lift ticket.
Well, lift ticket came with the 25th version, so there is a connection there.
It's just
but
so boring.
I like Rexship's other suggestion more, just a generic Joe Steel Core pilot. In general, like
if you want to encourage more vehicle purchases, that's the way you do it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
People buy multiples.
Because I don't want to end up with 2 Sky Patrol Flints or whatever they would end up putting in there. Yeah, I like that idea the best.
Oh, Yorktown Joe added, they have instructions on how to reassemble it in a more Skyhawk presentation. There's already some reviews about it. Well, I guess this is the reissue. So I'll look those up and we'll do a follow-up.
Oh, and actually, Kristian, I was going to charge you with a new mission here, and I forgot. I was going to mention it before the show. You're in charge of the comments now, because it's with 2 of us doing them. We're not focusing enough. So you are in charge of picking the comments, putting them up on the screen, and I'm going to leave that to you. It's all you, buddy. So remember that, chat. He's the one. He's the one. Let's see. Hoffman is in the chat. What did I just say? Sorry, Hoffman. Kristian's going to have to pull you out of the muck.
I was trying to look up the answer to his question. But Brian Hoffman is with us tonight and wants to know, who was the Mud Fighter pilot? Dogfit?
Dogfight, but yes, I like Dogfit. That's a new workout service for your canines.
I actually like
Rick Steiner
better.
Rick Steiner was Dogfit.
Dogfit, yes.
Okay, he has an interesting look. At least it's sort of what if Dr. Bombay from Bewitched was a fighter pilot in Joe?
I just say he looks like Ace Duck.
That reference is going to be super helpful for all of our listeners and viewers, Kristian. Thank you so much for that. All right, so now with all of that out of the way, we got to check in with a little Robo Skull update. Now, this is a little older news, but we haven't had the opportunity to address it yet because there actually has been Joe stuff. These are 6-inch Red Shadows test shots, photos by Sam Nicola. Sam Nicola took some killer pics of the test shots, and we'll post more of them in Skeletron Secret Lab, which is on Facebook. If you're not part of that Facebook group, just look it up and ask to join. An additional photo taken at the event and posted to Secret Lab was the full final loadout for our 6-inch Wolf Trooper. The 6-inch Wolf Trooper was originally planned to include the following 6 accessories: removable helmet, ray gun, ZG carbine rifle, jetpack, and combat claws. But they have added 10 additional accessories. And this is all included in just the price of the figure. This is just stuff that they're throwing in. So now the Wolf Trooper also includes left and right fists, left and right grip hands, 2 rifle magazines, 2 grenades, a blast effect, and a Red Shadows stand, which you can see in the image if you're watching us online. And that Red Shadows stand looks really cool. I like the triangular shape, and it's got a nice embossed red shadows in there. And it's translucent, so it's not some wacky color that's going to stand out on your shelf as, extra junk you don't need. None of these accessory inclusions have impacted the delivery of this figure, as the main body has required the additional time in engineering, tooling, and tooling revisions. So basically, they were able to execute these accessories while updates were being made to the body. So these didn't add any time. They were just something that they were like, oh, we've got some extra time. Let's throw some more stuff in there. We hope these additions further demonstrate our commitment to providing phenomenal value to you. With Chinese New Year now behind us, we are getting back into the swing of things with the factory and are pushing hard to have this figure into full production very soon. We will provide you with an updated timeline as soon as we have confidence in the production schedule, along with 4-inch and 6-inch Skeletron figures updates as soon as we have additional updates from the factory. So this is amazing news because this never happens. Hey, guess what? You're getting more accessories than what were originally shown. Like, stuff gets cut all the time. You see it in every mass market toy line. Extra accessories are almost unheard of. And then we've also got, this is the shot that I believe is actually from that toy show. Look at the combat claws on that thing. That's sick. That puts the Predators to shame. But we know, those of us who have our Robo Skull Mark IIs know the quality that Skeletron is delivering. So I cannot wait to see the final products of these things. It's going to be wild. Next up, another friend of the show, Legends of the Hidden Force. Oh, wait, did I put that in there twice? I sure did. We have been so focused on getting figures finalized, so it's great to get an update on the accessory packs. So everybody in the chat, Kristian, Noel, what is a comment that we see about every toy line all the time? Why don't they make accessory packs? People say it about Classified. People say it about Black Series. Everything. Every toy line, people are always questioning that. Well, guess what? Legends of the Hidden Force is doing accessory packs. And as you can see, very similar to the old school Joe packs. These are the first pictures we've received of these, and the transparent parts look amazing. And the blood-spattered accessories turned out exactly as we hoped. So let's see. There are the different accessory packs. And then there are the blood-spattered accessories, which are, quite frankly, almost fit for a Energon Universe G.I. Joe comic. That's how gory these are. Quick figure update. Figures are 100% approved, but some of the figure accessories were miscolored. This week, the factory is addressing what we hope to be final revisions. So there you go. And if you remember the Legends of the Hidden Force, all of the weapons are modular. So you could do things like put an axe head on a nunchuck or put a claw at the end of a staff or whatever, because they use the Lego brick attachment system. So all of these weapons can be mixed and matched and combined with each other.
So to refresh myself on the accessory packs, because all of this is available for pre-order on Big Bad right now. I was looking through the figures because I had forgotten that aspect. And one of the figures, Knockout, you replace his hands with
Yes.
the
Yes.
weapons, and now I am so in on those accessory packs.
Yeah, I really like. I complain all the time about how many accessories we get with some action figure lines, but I will say with the O-ring stuff, it's more, I think because it's just more compact and easier to deal with. I like these kinds of things that you can switch out and play around with a little bit more. Whereas with, a larger 1/12 scale figure, you have not only the accessories, but all whatever gear is on them, whatever. It's 1/12 scale figures are not as much fun to play with. And that's not to say they're not good, but they're just not as much fun to play with as O-rings. And that's two different things. And I'm okay. I enjoy them both. But if you want to fiddle around and play with a figure, to me, an O-ring is your best bang for your buck. All right. Finally, we have an update from other friends of the show, although we haven't, this is my fault. I haven't talked to them in quite some time. Call Sign Longbow has an update, although this is really directly from Skeletron as well. This is the third release, the final variant Wolf Trooper card back. This is by artist Tim Barron. If you're not following Tim Barron on Instagram, you should be. His art is awesome. Everything he does right up my alley. Really like horror, sci-fi, slanted pop culture type or pop art type stuff. And this card back, the final variation for the Wolf Trooper. Let's see. Oh, you know what? I've got stuff out of order because we've got a separate. Hang on. Let me look at my slides real quick. Oh, this was to go along with it because Call Sign Longbow didn't have any images. That's why this one is here. Because this uses the same body as their Ghost, which is the first Call Sign Longbow figure that was actually released to the public and is excellent, by the way. So the Call Sign Longbow update is the factory has received our notes from last month's first shots, and we met with our rep to finalize revisions. These revisions have been sent to the factory production team to begin work on them. Packaging files have been finalized, proofread, and submitted to the factory for production. New plastic color samples are being produced based on our notes from last month. So progress continues. But again, you can see the kind of stuff that Grindstone is doing in this Skeletron figure. And this figure will be available, I believe it's tomorrow, from Skeletron.com. This is the ZoloCon exclusive. So if you do not yet have a sample of the design work from Grindstone Toys, you can check it out with this figure, or just get this and have that awesome Tim Barron card art, which is my plan. All right, here we go. Kristian, I'm going to let you take the lead on this one, even though I called this weeks ago when the first variation was released.
Okay.
Let's go.
I don't, this is going to sound surprising. I don't think I am the person you want to have talk about this.
Oh, I thought you, interesting. Okay,
Because,
well, I'll take the lead
so
then.
this screams to me of, I got to pull it up so I don't forget, the Ice Snake, which I do not like.
Oh, I like the Ice Snake. I liked it enough that I bought one, even though it's like way outside my range.
Oh, wow. Yeah, like there's parts of this I really like. So in case for our listeners, Grindstone Toys did announce and has Gridiron.
There are too many grid grind that because I messed up when I did my top 10 of 2024. I said that I mixed up Grindhouse Toys, who actually produced the figure, and said Grindstone Toys. But I know for a fact over the history of this show, I've interchanged Grindstone, Gridiron, Grindhouse, Monkey Grinder. Like there's.
But this is the classified scale Arctic Hound. Which is now see they say 4x4 military vehicle. But how can it be 4x4? It only has
Two
two
by
wheels.
two.
And
Well, I'll
two
just throw this out
seats.
there. When we looked at the original version of this, the Hound, I said all you got to do is replace those front tires with some skis. Now, I did say you'd put tank treads on the back,
Yeah.
but
Who knows if they're going
this.
to release an accessory pack?
Well, right.
Yeah, knowing these guys, they might build out a little bit more in the back that you can clip
That's
on
true.
with tank treads.
Because
Yeah,
I
mean,
think
they could put an apartment on the back.
if they made, honestly, if they made doors, like if they enclosed the sides,
Oh, yeah.
I would be more for it. There's just something about snow vehicles
That are
with
open.
no protection from
Hey,
the.
Our polar battle bear was
that's
completely
true.
open.
That's a good point. That's a really good
That's
point.
a
But
snowmobile, like that. To me, that's meant.
this
to
is
be.
a snowmobile.
I don't know.
What else do you call it? But Kristian, I do agree with you. It would have been, if this had doors and a windscreen, I would, because I'm already tempted by this, and I think it's $200 like the Hound was. I just can't do it. But if it had doors and a windscreen, I would be more tempted, because that would really, really be a completely different thing. But I'm still holding out for that Megaforce Desert version. If they drop that,
I do love the nod to the Snowcat missile launcher.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and they also have a variation where they're red. The missiles are red, like the Wolf. Oh, wait, we're not here yet. Sorry, I got carried away. I was so excited about getting back to those old sound-offs. Oh, here we go. Rex Ship says maybe they'll have this in person at Joe Fest and you'll be more tempted. Yeah, it's entirely possible I'd be more tempted, because look, if any amount of money you can cut out of something is great, and I'm sure the shipping on this is, between $10 and $20, and if I can cut $10 or $20 off the price, then yeah, I have yet to see any of Gridiron House
Gridiron.
I have yet to see any of Gridiron stuff in person. I believe, and somebody in the chat, I'm sure, can tell me if this is accurate, or Kristian, you might know. So when Gridiron started, they were 3D printing, but I feel like I remember seeing that they're actually doing injection molding now.
Yeah, they've been for.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah,
because all the pieces that I have from them, save for one gun, they used to do this thing during the holiday seasons, like Halloween and Christmas, where they would, like, for 24 hours, like, hey, here's a special deal, like this exclusive weapon. And that one, you can tell, was 3D printed, but everything else is injection.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And real quick, Sean Forrester says it really needed tank treads for that snow aspect. And I think I agree with you. That I could maybe even get past the open side doors. Just, to me, the ski treads aren't enough. Like, we have that on Wheeled Warriors, and they were not on the snow. Like, I need something.
What if the tires had, like, spikes on them? I don't mean like big giant spikes, but I mean just some good,
or chains around them.
If you put chains on them, I'm from the hills of Kentucky. I need to see chains. Then I'm there.
What if they do it like, what was the truck that had the little paws that came out of the wheels?
Oh yeah,
yes.
The animal.
Exactly what you're talking about.
The animal.
Okay. Yeah, it was like Bigfoot, but it had literal, like, paws. What was it, like 3 or 4?
Yeah, it was like 3 on each wheel, and every time it, like, hit a rough spot, it would come out.
Yeah, it would activate. I bet those. I wanted one of those really bad, but I bet they didn't work at all.
Probably not.
Thoughts about the animal in the chat? Somebody tell us if it worked or not. Was it better than the Crossfire?
Ooh.
I know, low bar. Oh, what if what if they had done like a Crossfire variant of the Hound?
But
I mean, it almost
I think
kind
you
of.
still
I mean,
can.
Well, and the original was, take off those bug bumpers in the front, or the bug eye headlights in the front, and that's kind of what it looks like. Because that's what
Yeah,
when they
yeah,
first showed it, I like the fact that it does keep a lot of those Ostriker aesthetics. But I was like, you could vary this up in a lot of different ways.
yeah. That's interesting, man. That almost might tempt me.
It's very similar to what they did with the Ramen Toys did with their tank body.
Right.
That could be the bridge layer, or it could be the Wolverine, or it could be your Mauler. I mean, it was, they got a nice universal body mold that they can play with here for a while. So who knows how many variants we're going to get of this?
Because when you look at everything that they have made for the Vamp and the Stinger, that turned them just into completely other vehicles, and even the Trouble Bubble now at that point, I do see a lot more. Like, now we have this deemed as a snow vehicle, we can start making additional packs to fill it out, or whatever version of a Joe vehicle you want.
Well, I like this. I like it a lot, but the cost is still, as with all gridiron stuff, is still just prohibitive to me for what it is. I think it's great, but I'm just not dropping $200 on that.
Recship85 says, just wait until they figure out how to swap the skis and wheels for some sort of water vehicle parts. Now, listen.
We said that too, though, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but now with everything that between the chat and you guys have said, give me that. Then I need my 3D printer friends to make a little television with a face on it. As long as all of these swaps on the vehicle body can happen quickly, because now I can finally live my pole position cartoon fantasy of having a toy that represents them.
Yeah, you could. I feel like you could pop those sides off and put some kind of boat parts around it. But the question is, do you make it orange and make it a devilfish, or what do you do? What could this most closely resemble?
Well, when you said orange, what I was thinking of when I saw what you could do variations, especially with us getting some mask releases, you could do like a gator with this and have it like launch a little boat out of the back.
Oh, that'd be cool. Speaking of mask, we talked about that pretty thoroughly on that Needless Things Toy Fair episode. We
didn't talk about it all last week because we had so much other stuff to talk about.
Well, we can talk about it a little bit right now if you want to. How are you feeling about the mask from the loyal subjects?
I'm very optimistic. I think that looks really, really good. I think that if they're hitting that where they're saying the highest price point they have is going to be $99,
right,
which we presume is going to be that Rhino, then I think that's a pretty affordable line of toys. Like, you could probably get that whole first wave for $250.
I think when I did the math, it was like $180. It was
wow.
Hang on, no, that's not right. That's not right.
You figure that the Thunderhawk's probably going to be 50 to 60.
The price they listed somewhere listed the price points.
Okay.
Because I think it
was
from most expensive down, it's the Rhino, then the Switchblade.
Right.
Then
I think it was 100, 75, 40, 25. I think that's what the price points were that I saw listed, and that's correct. It's $245.
That Thunderhawk at 40 is gonna. They better produce 5 times more of that than everything else, because people are going to buy that one like crazy.
Oh, that's going to be the one. I mean,
yeah,
out of
and especially at that price point, yeah.
The reaction to this toy line so far has been way bigger than what I anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
But people, if you're on like His Tank, people talk about Mask all the time with anything
Yeah.
that comes up with its crossover potential. Mask is one of the first things that's mentioned every single time, whether it's to go with O-rings or whether it's people saying, no, I want it in the original scale or whatever. It is a very fondly remembered franchise that's been underserved for the last 30 whatever years.
Yeah, we haven't gotten like really proper reissues of any of those
No.
for all that time. Whereas, like, I mean, you think about, I would put them probably squarely in the B level category of
I
boys
agree with
toys
that.
from that era. You know, they weren't at the bottom, but they were, you know, they're right there in the middle. They weren't quite G.I. Joe or He-Man or Transformers.
But it lasted across a few years. It's
Yeah.
not like
Yeah.
Visionaries or Inhumanoids where it was, you know,
No.
one and done. Like it
Mhm.
actually got
I think 4 or
2
5 waves.
I think 4 or
Because-
5 waves and two seasons of the TV show, or was it 3?
I want to say it was 3.
I think it was
I
3
think
because the
3
third
because
season
there's well
was the
over 100
races. The
episodes.
third
Yeah.
season
Yeah.
was they were just racing.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, it had a more than a minute in the sun, and as we talked about when Hasbro started doing the Transformers G.I. Joe crossovers, Mask bridged that gap where we
Mhm.
had figures and transforming vehicles.
Yeah.
Now,
And that was-
unfortunately, the single robot from the line was maybe a little disappointing.
Yeah.
How do you not
that was
launch-
what I said. That was the common thread right there. I was like, this is your gateway between G.I. Joe and Transformers, I think, and you know, if you're gonna do these crossover lines.
How do you not launch with a T-Bob? Isn't that kind of crazy? Like,
Yeah.
make that a special early bird, like order T-Bob and the annoying kid right now and get your
that's
first
not
Mask
T-Bob.
items.
But Kenny, remember the old Crash Dummy toy line?
Yes, I
Oh, yeah.
loved those. I had
So make
tons of that.
make Scott like one of the crash dummies
Incredible
where
crash dummies.
the Mask vehicles can ram into
Run
him
over
and he
him.
just falls apart.
Oh,
You-
poor Scott
what if-
Tracker.
What if he had a feature? They could make multiple, because if you remember, the Crash Dummies had multiple ways that they could be destroyed. Like
Yeah.
different ones would have different features. So you've got one Scott that, like, you press the button and he's dismembered. You've got another one that you pull him apart and he's got like a flattened, like you pull his waist and his abdomen apart and he's got a
Yeah.
flattened with tire treads on it in the middle.
That's what I was thinking of, because didn't they do they did the dog and the cat like that? It had they had hinges in the middle where
Yeah,
you
that's
could
right.
lay them out flat.
Yeah,
and they had
oh, that's
tire tracks going
horrible.
across them.
That is,
I think
yeah,
one
that's
was
morbid.
named Roadkill.
Well, they
Wow.
were dummies.
It was all meant in
They
good
were
fun.
dummies.
Yes.
It was good, and they were. I mean, that was. It's so bizarre that it's a toy line that was based off of PSAs,
Mhm.
but it was a great toy line that accurately communicated what it was about.
Yeah. And they were, when did they come out? Like 88 or 89
I have
initially?
no idea.
Because I know it was a little bit after my time of collecting toys, so I never owned any of them. But did they also have a cartoon series?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's-
The Incredible Crash Dummies, I think,
Yeah.
is what the whole thing was called. What a weird phenomenon. We'll have to do a special episode about those. All right. Well, last bit of news we've got before we move on to our sound offs. Crystal Ball. Currently my favorite figure. Whoa!
Brian Payman in the super
Brian
chat.
Payman, what is happening in the super chat? Thank you so much.
Apparently, he likes that Crystal Ball is a Walmart exclusive.
Either that or he likes we're talking about murdering Scott Tracker. But I will remind everybody, everything that we get in through the super chats all goes into production, merchandise, hosting fees, whatever, because it is not free to do all of the stuff that we do. So every little bit that you guys send along, we really appreciate it. And of course, even if you're just sharing the show, telling people about Audible Interlude, engaging with us on Instagram or YouTube or whatever, That's all very valuable too. Everything that spreads the word is awesome. But of course, the dollars really go a long way. So thank you very much to everybody that contributes to the super chat. So Crystal Ball, potentially my favorite classified figure thus far in the entire line, because you guys know how I am. Look at that shield. Look at that mask. That sword. Whoa. I am wreck ship. You can't be demoted any further.
What? So Wreckship 85 says, man, Classified really does a stellar job of making lame characters into must-buy figures. And as someone who does like the original Crystal Ball, I agree with him wholeheartedly, because young me wasn't as big of a fan of Crystal Ball as adult me.
Oh, I loved it.
Well, let's face it. You say character. We didn't really get a character for Crystal Ball because he was never used in Sunbow. Larry Hama never used him in the comics until he brought it back, 10 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, he was in the IDW stuff. He was just
IDW.
like, but that was, well, no, I mean, not even Larry Hama's IDW. He was in the regular when they did the whole thing where it was that interesting take on Cobra that we've talked about before, where part of it was a pyramid scheme, part of it was like a cult, like they had different branches and ways of influencing people. And I don't want to get too deep into it because I upset one of our listeners a few weeks ago. So I'm going to stay away from talking about cult mentality or anything like that. But anyway, Crystal Ball, this figure goes on sale as part of Walmart's Collector Con Friday. And it's very disappointing that it's a Walmart exclusive. However, I will say this. The last few like Walmart Collector Con type things that have happened, if you're there the day the stuff goes up, you can pre-order it. Now, do not use a debit card to pre-order. Use Kristian, I'm strongly encouraging you to pick that last Jeff Butler comment. Because I think it is accurate as heck.
So Jeff Butler says, we're kind of lucky Crystal Ball was never in the Deke cartoon. He'd have just been a complete goof there. See, I saw that and liked it, but I was like, oh man, is everyone tired of hearing us talk about Deke?
No, it's been a long time. We're almost due for some more Deke. A Deke infusion, if you will.
Wow, we've been Dekeless for a long time.
We need a hot Deke injection around here.
But it is very surprising because that would have been the time frame of characters that they were using.
Well, but he was 87 and Operation Dragonfire was 89, so he wasn't even on the pegs by the time that, and they never did a second Crystal Ball.
So shockingly, he was not one of the 3-year.
No, so yeah. There wasn't a good period for him to be used in the cartoons.
But anyway,
the importance of Naga hide there.
If you keep, well, first of all, if you're following Audible Interlude podcast on Instagram, I posted the link so you could bookmark the listing on Walmart the other day, and I'll certainly post it again on Friday. But if you get on Friday, you should be able to pre-order this. Do not use a debit card because Walmart does those rotating charges, and even if you cancel the order, the rotating charges continue. It's fraud. I basically had to threaten them with a lawsuit to get them to take the last order off that I canceled. So use a credit card. Do not use a debit card.
Just don't ever use a debit card.
Just don't
ever do it.
Yeah, all right, Clark Howard.
Especially not on the internet.
Well, nothing's safe. Really?
Well, credit cards, you don't lose the money if you just dispute it with a credit card. You don't potentially, have your mortgage check bounce.
Is this the only promo pic you have? Because I saw one today that
I've got a ton, but I just put the one in.
Okay, so there is one that I saw today for the first time that looks like it's from this same photo shoot.
Yeah, there were like 9 or 10. I mean, clearly
but they
had,
have the sword, the Cthulhu mask,
Oh,
and
yeah.
the snake part of the shield floating behind him. And legit, and I mean this in the best way possible, it absolutely reminded me of a Fun School package, because that's how they did Zartan with his disguised head floating behind him. And I was like, what?
Well, I think, and I could be wrong, but I think Shooting the Galaxy does all of their photography now.
Yes.
And has been doing some really cool stuff. So yeah, just put it on your calendar this Friday. Oh wait, this Friday's the 13th?
Mm-hmm.
No,
that's not right. No,
Today's
Friday's the 14th.
So it would be
Thursday. So this goes up Thursday.
Okay.
So yeah, just keep an eye out on Thursday, not Friday. You should be able to get your crystal ball. How appropriate would it be, though, to get this character on a Friday the 13th? That would have been pretty appropriate. All right. What else we got here? Is it time? Oh, it is. It is indeed time.
Craven Banana time.
That segment of the show where we take input from you, the Audible Army, about what you want us to talk about. If you are following Audible Interlude Podcast on Instagram, every day we're doing a live stream, unless we're backed up. We will post a sound off request where we want to hear what you want us to talk about. And then that night on the show, we will respond to your messaging prompts. So let's see what we've got. These are actually from, I think, 2 weeks ago. We just ran out of time because we had too much to cover. First up, Wreck Ship 85. Which member of the Joe team would be the one most likely to constantly be telling dad jokes around Joe HQ? Dad jokes.
I had Cutter down for this one.
I mean, I think his file card pretty much outlines it. It's got to be airtight.
Oh, you're right. Absolutely. Corny, because he specifically calls him out for corny jokes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. There you go. That's canon. Also from Wreck Ship 85, if Hasbro were to ever do Battle Force 2000, would they need to update it to another future year? For instance, Battle Force 3000, or would you not care and just want the Battle Force 2000 figures as they are? Well, first of all, your last segment there is quite a supposition, because I don't want the Battle Force 2000 figures as they are, or as they may be, or as they ever were. But this is a tough call, because I feel like Battle Force 2000 is such a recognized corner of Joe history. I don't know.
I think you do. I think you call him Battle Force 2000. It's like Conan O'Brien continuing in the year 2000, long after the year 2000.
Man, this tears at the various parts of my sensibilities, because I feel so strongly that Battle Force 2000 is such a, like I said, it's just a recognized name, but it would be so dumb to call it Battle Force 2000 now.
Well, it doesn't have to refer to the year. It could just be their designation. We're Battle Force 2000.
Oh, you know what Hasbro? No, here's what Hasbro would do. It'd be Battle Force 2000, but then they would release a troop builder. So you have to buy 1,000. How many Battle Force 2000 were there originally? Wasn't it like 10?
6. I think it was 6 figures and 6 vehicles.
Was it
right?
6? I thought it was 4 2-packs. Is it 3 2-packs? If it's 3 2-packs, but then they did, was it DJ later? Well, they're either 7 figures or 9 figures, whatever it is. So they want you to buy 1,991 of the troop builder to make them the full Battle Force 2000.
I want to bounce off of Rexship's earlier comment with how Classified has been able to turn lame characters into must-haves. And I feel like when they do eventually show a Battle Force 2000 figure, Dave is going to be like, this is the best Joe ever.
My
Like, they're going to
disdain-
make it Robo Joe cool.
My disdain for Battle Force 2000 is purely stuck in 1987. I already told you guys when I was in Louisville a couple years ago, they had the full collection, and I wish I'd bought it. Because at some point, I will buy those again. I know I will, because even though it's part of what ended my interest in G.I. Joe at the time, it's something that I had, and I've got nostalgia for it. Even though those vehicles were absolute turkeys.
I hate the fact they came out in 87, because if I ever do accomplish my lifelong goal of owning every G.I. Joe toy produced between 82 and 87, it means I'm going to have them in my collection. I just don't want them there.
Well, why? Okay. So I'm going to assume, well, we know because you've talked about it on the show, you did not have everything that was released between 82 and 87 when you were a kid, right?
Lord, no.
So why would you say I want everything from 82 to 87 rather than I want everything I had when I was a kid? And if you're going to expand it to 82 to 87, why are you not just expanding it to 82 to 94?
If I wanted everything I had as a kid, I wouldn't collect toys, because I have them all. They're not all in the condition that I had them as a kid, but I've got every toy that I had when I was a kid. I
feel like this 82 to 87, well, first of all, surely you've already gone outside of that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've got all my Tiger Force. I like to, in my headcanon, Tiger Force came out in 87 and not Battle Force 2000.
That's not how that works, Noel.
I also know I'm never going to own a Viper glider, probably. So
right,
you know.
Yeah, and that's why my start was I want everything I had as a kid, and then I thought about it, and I was like, well, I had the gliders, I had the Crossfire, and I just don't care to own the, like, obviously the gliders, it wouldn't be anywhere near worth paying what you would have to get one. The Crossfire, I just don't need to own ever at all. So, like, we just make constant adjustments to our goals. But to go back to what Rexship asked, I cannot answer it because both choices frustrate me. And in the sense of Classified, both choices frustrate me. What about you guys? Kristian, final diagnosis.
Yeah, Battle Force 2000.
Yeah, Noel, you agree?
Oh yeah, I think it's just what we call them. It does not refer to the year.
All right. Well, you certainly couldn't call them BF 2000 because
they're no Techno Team 2000.
Well, no, nobody is. Come on. Although add them to Battle Force 2000, and I would be thrilled. We keep talking about wrestlers in the line. Let's go. I bet they'd be really inexpensive to license.
Yeah, Eric Watts and Chad Fortune are both like, please, can we get a little bit of money?
Man, all of these retro wrestling toy companies out there, nobody's doing an Eric Watts. We got to Duke the Dumpster Drozy, but nobody's talking to Eric Watts. Poor Eric Watts.
Nepo babies.
All right. Scott Stripling Art, who, by the way, I have got a heck of a Joe and Tell for next time because I have to. There's a little preparation involved in what I have from Scott Stripling Art. It's one of my favorite things I've ever gotten in the mail. But Scott Stripling Art asks, what modern, or not, I guess, celebrity, a la Rocky Balboa, Sergeant Slaughter, William Perry, would you want to be made into a Joe? Well, Noel just nailed it. Techno Team 2000. I mean, what other answer could there possibly be? I don't know. We've talked about this a lot on the show, but let's come up with somebody new.
So having a few weeks to think about this one and what have we not had in G.I. Joe, and my mind keeps going to the bright neon glow of 90s Joe, and I think we need Sergeant Tony Hawk
Oh, wow.
with his action skateboard.
Whoa, that is brilliant. How in all of these years have I never thought of a skateboarding Joe? I love that.
Yeah, how during the entire 1990s did we never get a G.I. Joe with a skateboard accessory?
Right?
Exactly.
I mean, granted, there was only Joes for the first 4 years of the 90s, but
yeah,
still.
but even in G.I. Joe Extreme, which
Well, yeah,
the name alone.
but yeah, I mean, like, you know, they were clearly trying to compete with the Ninja Turtles, who had skateboards in the line, and you know, you would have thought somebody would have gotten one.
I mean, and you could even, like, as much goofy stuff as they did in the 90s, you could really justifiably make a pretty cool, like, tactical skateboard. Like, it's not that
Yeah.
unreasonable.
No.
Oh, I love
I mean,
that.
there was a Spider-Man villain, the Rocket Racer, that had a tactical skateboard. It's totally doable. Real quickly,
Wow.
Jeff Butler jumping in with Serena Williams would be a pretty tough trainer, and I would be all on board with that
Wow.
as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But she still has to come with a tennis racket, but grenades instead of tennis balls, or tennis ball grenades.
I still like it. It is my dream to have a G.I. Joe movie where Rhea Ripley plays Heart Wrencher, but I kind of just want Rhea Ripley as her own.
As Rhea Ripley, yeah.
Rhea Ripley as a Dreadnought. That was what I thought about a couple weeks ago. Although I think think back my whole like lifetime thinking about this of like people who I always wanted in G.I. Joe that weren't. I always wanted B.A. Baracus in G.I. Joe. Doesn't even have like not Mr. T, but B.A.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like I had the 3 3/4 inch BA that I borrowed from my friend, and he was on missions with GI Joe all the time.
Yeah, I used my A-Team, because I had the A-Team and the A-Team van, and the A-Team, because the set I had, it was the A-Team set that came with the playmat, and they were in different colored fatigues. They weren't in their show outfits, which I don't even know that they did that in 3 3/4 inch. Did they? I don't think they did.
No, because I think I can't remember what other body it was, but I think it was just a recycled body from something else.
Yeah, it was.
Turtle was doing at the time.
So I had those, and that was just part of my Joe. Like the A-Team and the van were just part of Joe, and I wanted that A-Team tank so bad, and never had it. Maybe at Toylanta. Oh,
Reverend Scott Stripling Art jumping in with, I think I'd want Jackie Chan. And I'm trying to think of what role I would want him to play, because he's got to be able to be quippy with the team.
Right. I think he'd be like a forward scout type of person who was always sent ahead to kind of check things out, like maybe an undercover scout type, but he's always getting into trouble. Like he's always blowing his cover and having to fight his way out of whatever the situation is, and then gets back to the Joe team and has an explanation for why his cover got blown again.
Yep.
Oh, yes.
And Brian Fabian with Lorenzo Lamas as a renegade with his motorcycle.
The
I love the
anti-Dreadnought.
obscure references tonight.
He was wronged by the Dreadnoughts years and years ago and has to team up with the Joes to take down his hated biker gang enemies.
The motorcycle Mercer.
I love it.
Also, Wreckship 85. And I feel like this would be like one of those commemorative special releases. But he says, how about a Colonel Robin Williams? Joe's could always use a comedian, and it would make Airtight get better material.
Just
I
he'd
think-
be Adrian Cronauer in this case.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I like that idea. Who else was in that? Who was his partner?
Bruno Kirby was in it.
Is Bruno Kirby who I'm thinking of?
I don't know.
I don't know. I'd love a Bruno Kirby figure.
Yeah.
You know what? While we're at it, oh no, wait, I'll save that for Let's Freaking Go Ring. Oh my gosh, I have to hang on. I've got to write this down so I don't forget it. I am so excited about what just popped into my head. Now I hope I remember. Okay, here we go. You guys, next week, Let's Freaking Go Ring. Oh, it's gonna set the world on fire. So my pick. Oh,
yes. No,
no,
we'll
go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
No, go ahead. Brett's here.
We at last minute save here. Brett White says a classified Vincent Price, but with all of those crystal ball accessories.
So didn't they just make that figure?
I'm glad, Brett. I'm glad to see you here in the chat. Literally and while you're here, mention your YouTube channel. Literally everything Brett does is gold. And Pop Heist. Check out Pop Heist. Okay,
but I think you make that Vincent Price from the era of like Theater of Blood, the camp era, like pre-80s, early 70s Vincent Price. I would be totally down.
I think there are a lot of things you could do that would be a lot of fun with him. I could even see, like, you could have him switch sides and do a Dr. Phibes style Vincent Price. Like, there's a lot of cool things you could do there.
Zartan's dad, the master.
Oh, wow. Or would you want to make that some kind of Lon Chaney tribute?
I also think that we could get a good, and rest in peace, a good MF Doom G.I. Joe crossover.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah, I still haven't opened. I got the Super 7 cereal box that they did. Still haven't opened it because it's so nice. I don't want to. All right, so my pick is also potentially a gateway to something else coming into Joe. I would like to see Joan Jett with a jetpack and a machine gun guitar, and this is how we bring Jem and the Misfits into G.I. Joe.
I love that on so many levels, but Jetpack Joan just alone is yes.
It's like the Joe version of Roxy Rocket from Batman the Animated Series.
I mean,
Brett
while
White
you're at it,
chimes in again. Her code name definitely has to be Blackheart.
Right,
you might as well just eventually bring all the Runaways in. You get your Alita Ford in there as well.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Look,
wow.
Shipwreck only has so many hours in the day. If you bring all of the Runaways in,
oh my gosh, he would end up in the brig. All right, God, that was a good one.
That was.
We got to move on. We must move on. Mark Harrison, Maz fan. Mattel and McFarlane do it a lot, but could you ever see Hasbro releasing Chase variants for figures in the classified line? So this is a tricky question. So Toy Biz did that with Marvel Legends. No, they didn't. All they did was they would do the 2-packs that had different version. No, they did. Because when they did they would do Leader and Hulk, but then there'd be a Chase version with different.
Right.
But I don't think Hasbro has ever done that, have they?
Did they ever do it with Star Wars back in the 90s?
I don't think so.
There would be like
the closest
errors,
the closest thing Hasbro did, and this was just a production error, was the long-bladed lightsabers in Power of the Force.
Yeah.
But they've never done like intentional chase variants.
And I don't want them to.
But we're not talking about whether they have or not. Hasbro did it very brief. Okay, that's what I was thinking. Pull up Rexship's comment there if you would.
He said, yes, Hasbro did it very briefly when they first got the Legends line. See, I was out when Hasbro took over. I only just came back.
What did that Rexship, if you remember, what did they do? Because I thought I kind of remembered that, but the early Hasbros were so bad.
Because I know with Toy Biz, you had the Hulk, not Hulk, sorry. You had Dr. Doom. And some of the Dooms, the chase variant
were bots.
When you took the mask off, there was a Doom bot
underneath.
Or you had the Giant Man that the chase he was in the blue.
That's right.
Suit.
So let's say though,
but
I don't see Hasbro ever doing it with classified. Oh, that's right. Put Brett's up there also.
Brett says, I remember there being a black and gray Warpath and a red and blue Warpath in a 2-pack with Deadpool.
Yeah, it lasted a while in those 2-packs where they would do like a different Kingpin and Daredevil, a different Hulk and Leader. They would do repaints like that. Oh, right.
Here we go.
They would.
Madam Hydra mask. I remember that.
I remember this now. That's right.
Blue Orange Ghost Rider.
And they were so frustrating to people because, like with Pile Driver and Wrecker, people wanted both of them, and one of them was they were a short packed. So let's look at classified. So I don't think any of us want this, and it would cut into their repaint potential. Because probably what we'd be talking about is, a 1 in 5, 1 in 10 Tiger Force shipwreck packed in with the shipwrecks, like that kind of thing. And Hasbro's not going to do that because that's cutting into these repaints that are making a lot of extra money for classified. Whatever people think of them, they are keeping the line going. So I don't see them doing chase variants. Even if they did something weird like a I don't know, what is something they could do? Let's look. Okay. Let's say they do just take Duke for example. So rather than making a repaint or a standard repaint of Duke, they do something dumb and McFarlane-y like all camo Duke or cell shaded Sunbow colors Duke, like
Spirit of Snake Eyes.
Yeah, weird stuff like that. I don't see them ever doing it, but is there anything like that might tempt you? Like here, I'll tell you one that might tempt me. So they're doing Snake Eyes and the Polar Bear. What if they did an alternate that was Snake Eyes was completely irradiated, like all translucent, but with a little paint deco to make it look kind of cool. And the bear is maybe, I know grizzlies and polar bears don't have the same forms, but let's say they repainted it to be a grizzly bear or a black bear or something.
Well, that would be very fitting with what Adventure Team did back in the day.
Right.
The pygmy gorilla somehow being the exact same size as the abominable snowman Yeti.
Right. I don't know. I don't
know. I have always hated the concept of chase figures ever since my best friend in college was heavy into the Spawn figures. And we would spend one whole day driving around. It felt like half of the state of Kentucky trying to track down every variation and also I think it just feeds the toy weasels, which
Well, Well, and I don't think with the current environment, especially for G.I. Joe classified toys, because how often do you walk into a retail store and find more than like two or
Well,
three
yeah.
figures on the shelf at one time? And so, unless you've got a line where there's constantly tons of product on the shelves, I don't think you're gonna do that.
And that is the main point. Is it's not because chases are done to drive people to stores, but classified is barely in stores.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, because I mean,
I
like,
think
and
Noel
what are
just
you
put
gonna
a
just
bow on that.
hopefully just get lucky by ordering off of Hasbro Pulse or Big Bad that you just might get that variant as,
Well, odd you should mention that though, because
it's almost like a blind bag figure at that point.
I wanted the new DC Multiverse Power Girl and just happened to get the chase. And I actually, now that I've got it in hand, I like the chase more. Well, this is just so everybody can see it a little better. I like the chase more than the regular version, but I ordered it online because I would not be surprised if I never see that Power Girl figure in a store. That one or the regular release. All right. Moving along. Silent Interlude. Do you have any ideas for a new unproduced vehicle or playset, classified or 3 3/4 inch scale, that would capture the same spirit as a lot of the classics like the Sky Striker, Rattler, Vamp, Hiss, etc.? I obviously want an Aspid Cobra Transport Helicopter, Cobra Freighter, and Silent Castle playset, but those are things I have nostalgia for, even though they were never produced. Any thoughts on a completely new toy design? We've talked about the Aspid a lot for the show. That is something that I certainly don't want in classified. To reiterate again, I don't want any more big vehicles in classified except the whale. And I don't even really want that. Like, I don't want them to make it, but if they make it, I will buy it. Yeah, so a O-ring Aspid would be fantastic. I'd love to see it. We've talked about the October Guard vehicle that was in the comics. Would be really cool. What else has come up? Oh, that Deke Cobra.
Oh yeah, the helicopter.
Yeah, that thing is awesome.
Yeah, which was such a great design for something that, I mean, I don't know if that was a toy that was planned at one point in time.
I feel like it has to be because it's cool. It's too cool for the people behind the Deke cartoon to have just come up with.
Right, and it wasn't something grandiose. Like, and one of my things is not the Cobra Mothership, which obviously we got our failed Kickstarter for from Super 7, but the other big Cobra transporter that has the big snake head and the big wings, like something like that. I always wanted to have when I was a kid. You could maybe do that 3 3/4 inch scale, but it's going to be very expensive. Probably a HasLab, or you do it as a Super 7, but I don't think they're going to do that again. But no, like, it's not something like that where it's obviously a big grandiose design, and maybe Deke would design something like that to be like their base of operations, but not just like a throwaway vehicle that just transports some characters off in one scene.
Right. It seems weird.
Yeah.
We've also talked about the Cobra Kaiju and the Cobra water robots, which I don't think I've ever brought this up before, just because we get excited talking about this stuff. But Kristian, the DC Universe Classics chemo figure, the Build-A-Figure? I'm picturing that, but way bigger, as one of the Cobra water robots. Like the way they did the translucent with the bubbles in it.
Oh, yeah.
So picture that,
Yeah.
but like 12 or so inches tall. Like, how awesome would that look?
That actually would get me to buy it.
Right. That's what gets me so excited
that is
about
one of my favorite figures.
Right. It's one of the best Build-A-Figures ever made. And that's why I get so excited thinking about the Cobra water robots, is that thing just looks so cool.
Yeah, I still think they should do 3 3/4 Springfield playset. I am surprised we never got anything like that throughout any of the lines. But then recently I've discovered from I think it was Valor versus Venom, there was a Cobra fighter plane called the Night Adder, which had like the World War II bubble on top. But what caught my eye about it is, Python Patrol had the sort of snake pattern painted on, but the Night Adder, the whole front of the plane is designed like a snake. Like the snake is sculpted into it with the eyes and all that. And I'm like, that is a really cool design. I would like to see it as something maybe a little bit more sleek, because the front half of that vehicle screams, this is a fast jet. And then the back half just kind of screams like, this is a big warplane. And it's a little too, I don't know, too great taste that don't taste great together.
Well, as I've said before, I was actively collecting Joe at this time, because this was like, what, 2003-ish, probably. And I didn't buy this. And I can tell you right now, me at that time, I looked at it and I was like, this is too like toy looking to me. But me now,
yeah,
I want
one. I absolutely want one, but I would love to see that redesigned into maybe even better.
I don't know. I kind of like it as is. But you're right. It could be. I mean, you can't lose any part of it, though. The only thing I would probably do is give it actual wings, as opposed to just those little turbines.
There you go.
I was trying to remember the toy.
It needs something.
That they released in the early '90s. That was the Cobra jet with the longer wings, or the swept back wings. That was very similar to the one that they used in the first season of Sunbow, before there was a Rattler. So it was like Cobra's only Air Force, and it was the Liquidator was the name of the toy that came out in '92. But I'd love to have something that was a lot closer to that, like that original Cobra jet that we saw in the cartoon.
Yeah, I agree. But because honestly, that was a better design than the Rattler.
Ooh.
Look, I
that knife.
I love that original Rattler toy, but compared to the rest of Cobra's armaments, it just doesn't make any sense.
It was a tank smasher.
Old ass plane.
They're inexpensive.
It's a great toy. Don't get me wrong. It's a great toy, but it makes no sense that Cobra is using it as their primary Air Force.
Come on, Noel. When you're going into battle, do you want a Rattler or a pogo ball? I mean, which one really makes more sense?
Give me the pogo every single time. Shake me to pieces, baby. All right.
White Vegeta. Hello. Back to you.
Tom Henry, who wants to guess what he's asking about? I dipped my toes into IDW with a Fall of G.I. Joe paperback I got for $10. Strangely, I think it would have made a better novel than a comic book. Is this an outlier in the IDW runs? Do you have runs to recommend that might have a little more action? This is one that when I first saw it, because I read all the IDW stuff to a point. I read the first several years of it before I realized it was such a drag. And there were good things here and there, but overall, it just got to the point where it was a slog to read these things. I honestly do not remember if I even read Fall of G.I. Joe. I don't know where that was in the run, but I can tell you the early IDW stuff was all pretty good. G.I. Joe Frontline, I think, might have been my favorite thing that they put out. The initial Cobra miniseries with Chuckles obviously is widely recognized as one of the best G.I. Joe comics ever, although it is grim. And unfortunately, the lesson IDW learned was, people want grim and miserable in their G.I. Joe. So the early IDW stuff is all pretty readable. And then as it went on, it just, like I said, it got to be a drag. And of course, hashtag Thang 2025, hashtag Risk is Zartan.
Hearts and Minds is also a
Ooh,
really
I like
good
that.
one. That's
I like that.
Max Brooks is the one that Max Brooks wrote, Hearts and Minds.
Oh yeah, Hearts and Minds is great. And also, shockingly, G.I. Joe and Danger Girl, really good.
Oh yeah.
And the Cobra Civil War, I think it was called.
Well, that was
trying to pull it up.
DDP though, wasn't it? Wasn't that Devil's Due? Or am I wrong?
Well, there was. Let's see.
Well, the original Cobra Civil War was in Larry Hama's.
it was.
Right.
It was.
But then there was another Cobra Civil War, which has
for some reason
favorite,
I thought it took place much later.
Absolute favorite moment in all of G.I. Joe comics ever is from Devil's Due, when and I'll say it here because it's whatever if you haven't read it now. It's the big battle between Cobra Commander's forces and Serpentor's forces. Cobra Commander has been captured. Serpentor removes his helmet, and it turns out that Cobra Commander has explosive devices in his helmet if it's removed without his proper sequence, and it blows Serpentor to hell. It is awesome.
Okay, so we are all actually correct because there have been multiple Cobra Civil Wars. But the one that I am thinking of is the 2011 IDW Cobra Civil War. It was a bunch of one-shots and then a mini series, because it was when IDW killed off Cobra Commander, and then each person who was considered to take his place,
they did all the different covers.
Yeah,
that's right. I remember that.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm wondering if what I just said is from. No, it's not from that though. I'm almost positive what I just said is from DDP.
There was one. There was one. Apparently, you slap the name Cobra Civil War on it, and it boosts sales because Marvel had
getting
one.
Old.
Yeah.
All right. Yorktown Joe, there seems to be enough topics to carry a long segment of a show. You're right, because we didn't have time. Thanks to the three of you. Thanks to the three of you for bringing us together and enjoying frivolity on a Monday night evening. I appreciate all the fan interaction as well, even when I need to watch afterwards. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, everybody hanging out. We love doing this. We love our Monday nights. It's awesome getting input from you guys, interacting with you. It's a great time for us. I look forward to this every single week. Travis Furburn. Oh, I clearly messed up. Oh, this might have been one that was from like Blue Sky or something, because I do put the sound off on Blue Sky as well on the Needless Things account. That's why this weird arrow is on it, I believe. How do you feel about the third-party accessories, blasters, and vehicles? Do Phantom and Noel have them in your collections? Love that I know that Legion Cub does, but want to hear his thoughts as well. What about the audience in the chat? Look, I don't mind third-party stuff at all. As a matter of fact, I bought several clear chest plates for the original classified bats because I wasn't happy with the black ones. If the price is right, I'll mix third-party stuff in all day long. But the problem for me is the price is not usually right. As I said, I've never even seen a gridiron piece in person.
You have to remind me, like, because I do still have the Dreadnought glasses for you and Noel.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Joe Fest last year that I forgot to give to you. But yeah, and then you can say that you've.
Yeah, that's right. I'll have more. I do have, and I know this is slightly controversial, but whatever. I do have a number of reproduction accessories in my Vintage Joe collection because I will never sell that. And some of those pieces I'm not willing to pay for the original part. And if you get
You're
a
not going
good
to pay
repro,
$200 for heavy metals
right,
microphone.
right. If you get a good repro, I can't tell, and I certainly, once I put it on the shelf, don't care. So there are a few pieces I've got in there. And what is the deal if you put them in water? The reproductions do float, and the originals don't. I can't
Are
remember
they
what the.
witches?
How do you know she's a witch?
Very small rocks.
But no, that's a thing I remember reading at one point. Although now with that might have been pre 3D printing being so
Yeah,
common, so it may be different now. I don't know.
When it comes to that, if you decide you're not going to be collecting anymore and you want to sell off your collection and you're using repro stuff, just be honest.
Right, there's some repro
Imagine
stuff
that.
in here.
Be a good person and
Yeah.
let people know what they're buying, because sure, there are some people that absolutely don't want them, but most people, at least from what I have found, or at least the circles that I run around with, don't care, because I would rather my Firefly have a phone than not.
And I don't do a lot of the repro stuff, but I bought a couple of little pieces, 3D printed pieces and stuff, just to fill in a gap. Because so my whale did not have the windscreen, the windshield, and so I was like, all right, I found somebody who was selling, one that was just a clear 3D printed one it was like $10. So it was a lot cheaper than buying an original one, which is going to cost like 40 or 50 and, is going to be a little bit more brittle. And the problem with that is I got it and it does not fit. The tabs are too large. So that kind of soured me a little bit on that. I did wind up getting a second whale and wound up moving the windscreen from it to my good whale. So I do have one on there now that's an original. But yeah, just a couple parts that I've bought. A lot of times, because you don't know what you're getting. You're getting quality control and issues from those people, and you got to watch their feedback, especially if you're buying on like eBay and stuff.
Yeah, you definitely want to stick with, YouTube and search engines are your friend, and if. Yeah, caveat. What is a caveat emptor?
Caveat emptor. Buyer beware.
Yeah.
Kristian, could you put Brett's latest comment up there, because I am thoroughly amused.
Yeah, I bought repo Royal Guard scythes when doing modest troop building.
So this is
Yeah.
amusing to me because I don't troop build my O-rings. But for whatever reason, when I find a Royal Guard out in the wild for the right price, that is the one thing that I troop build. And I don't care if they've got the antenna or I don't care if they've got any of their accessories with them. If it's like $15 or less, I'll just buy it. And I've got a little army of Royal Guards.
I do the
for
same.
some odd reason.
But that's one that it shocks me how affordable loose royal. And yes, if you're getting one that has the antenna and all the accessories, it's going to cost a lot. But when you consider that they made exactly as many Royal Guard figures as they did Globulus and Nemesis Enforcers, but loose, I think the Royal Guard figure goes for less, or it's around the same price as the other two. You would think it would be more in demand because people want to troop build it.
But I think most people don't.
Yeah.
Okay. I have this. That was our last sound off, but I added an image that I cannot recall. It's too small for me to see what it is in the preview.
Well, real quickly,
oh, go ahead.
I want to throw up Sean's comment here.
Okay.
Who says, yes, Noel is right. Do your research. I normally get 3D printed stuff that didn't exist in the past to not confuse people. And that's most of the logic that I use as well, mainly when it comes to classified. Like, I get the cheesiness of Big Boa coming with the punching bag, but I want that. So classified's not coming with it. If somebody makes it, I'm gonna buy it.
Yeah, that
So
makes sense. Or dog biscuits for
yeah,
Junkyard. All right, I don't know what this image is. I think it might be left over from another sound off. So okay, so I wanted to talk about this real quick. Who remembers? And this brings us into well, let me put this away. Hang on. I got lost in our doodads over here. So who remember? Obviously, we all remember Big Wheels, but who remembers the GI Joe Power Cycle?
I
I
had a friend that had it.
don't. But if you go on YouTube and watch the ad for it, so good, so much
Incredible.
better than most of the Big Wheel ads that I've seen.
Yeah, my neighbor in Winston-Salem had one, and it had the little electronics, and it made little pew 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 sounds.
I mean, this is a deluxe Big Wheel because it's not well. I don't believe it's a big because this was made by Coleco. I don't think this is actually even a Big Wheel, is it?
Was Big Wheel a
I mean, it's still the
brand
same.
name?
It's the same style. No, Big Wheels was a brand.
Yeah, but I consider it like Band-Aids. I mean, when you have something that is that shape, like uses that design,
No,
it's a Big Wheel.
I think you mean adhesive bandage, Kristian.
It has one big wheel in the front.
Hang on, my nose is running. I gotta grab some Kleenex.
No, you need some facial tissues. All right.
And then I'm getting a little raw. I got to rub my nose with some Vaseline.
So this is a segue to the final segment of the show, which is called Joe and Tell, where each of us has an item to share visually with the group. All right, let me see if I can put this in the right spot. They moved our things around, so I don't know how anything. Oh, that was it.
We're like
Okay.
Transformers.
All right. So.
Oh, Dave's going first.
This came in the mail today. This is an unboxing live on the show. We don't get to do this often because obviously I usually save stuff for the Needless Things YouTube channel and the reviews that I do there. But every once in a while, there's something super extra special.
Oh, no, that's packing paper.
Bales of cocaine falling from low-flying planes. What could this possibly be? You know what I didn't think about
when I big box.
You know what I didn't think about when I decided this was going to be an unboxing is how insanely people bubble wrap and tape things now when they ship them. Have you guys noticed? Like, it's really gotten out of hand. Although this isn't so bad.
Be a little patient
once you figure out where the edges are.
You want to savor the moment usually when you get that figure in.
This was posted on Instagram, and when I went to look for it, it was sold out. But then very shortly afterwards, later in the day, it was back in stock, and it is a classified scale laser defense unit, Big Wheel style.
Wait, because Sean Forrester made the comment that box is too small for a Big Wheel.
You are incorrect, Sean Forrester, because it is exactly the right size for a classified scale Big Wheel.
Wow. They need to make a Dreadnought colored one.
Well, they made a Cobra colored one, and that was actually in stock when I first went to look, and I was like, well, I really want the real deal one. This is from, oh, you know what? I meant to have this ready to go. Let me pull it up real quick. But I mean, you can see if you're watching the video, This is beautiful. The wheels turn. The yoke? Isn't that what that's called? Like the front wheel moves back and forth. It's got the laser blast, and it feels good. I don't see any. Oh, okay. You can see the 3D print lines, but they're very, very fine to the point where like the actual production version of this could potentially have had lines like this on it. But fully painted. Look at the striping detail.
Yeah,
This is
is that a sticker? I take it.
no. This is painted.
Wow.
Or printed in this color, because if you see the wheels, the hubcaps or whatever on the wheels are silver or
Oh
gray.
yeah.
It's got black, gray, silver. Like the colors are all accurate. It is missing the actual laser defense. Hang on, I'm looking up the seller right now because I obviously need to share this with everybody. Let me pull up my purchase information. Rowdy Toys on Etsy. It's called the Tri-Fighter. And it is currently available. It's in 20 plus carts, but it is currently available. But I mean, this is great. This is exactly the kind of like silly, weird, great thing I love to see. I should have brought a classified figure.
I was going to say, you don't have a
Earlier-
figure to put on it.
No, I don't have one near
Earlier
me.
with our sound off question about what original vehicle do we need in classifieds, like did not know that we needed that, but oh my gosh, we do.
Let's see here. Hang on. I don't have a classified figure, but what I do have is the body that I used for the Risk figure that I made for one of our segments a few weeks ago. So let me get this on here, and you can get a little scale idea. Well, close enough. So there is Chameleon from Marvel Legends. So there it is. That is my Joe and Tell, and that is the one that I boldly proclaimed to Noel and Kristian was the greatest Joe and Tell of all time, because
Pretty good Joe and Tell.
I could not believe something like this existed. And if you're just listening to audio, I highly recommend you check out the video version. But you can also just check out Rowdy Toys on Etsy, and they've got a lot of other cool stuff too. Like I said, they have this same thing in Cobra colors, and a lot of other cool items. It's definitely worth a look around their store. They've got some fun stuff. They've got a classified. Well, they've got a lot of STLs, or like the files to print.
Yeah.
3D printed stuff, right?
Yeah. They sell you the file and then you can print it.
There we go. So they've got STLs for a classified scale Imp, a classified scale Thunder Machine, a Claw that is, rather than being this classified version, an upscaled version, a classified scale Flag, an Adder, just a lot of cool stuff. They've got a throne. It's worth looking around their website. They got a lot of neat stuff, but then they also have stuff that they have actually printed up and you can just buy. So there you go. That is my Joe and Tell.
Nice.
And Yorktown Joe chimes in Risk with his special vehicle assessment.
All right, who is up next?
I can go because I might as well bring this up. It's not the first time we've talked about this today, but
I will never there we go.
Oh,
okay.
There we go. Last year at Joe Fest, I was like, you know what? My goal is I'm going to get something this year. I'm going to get myself the G.I. Joe Crossfire, because I never owned one as a kid. Didn't care if I had the remote control or anything. I just wanted one that was in, decent shape and had most of its parts.
You put it on the shelf.
And I did. I got myself this Crossfire last year. A good friend Kelly, listener of the show from Second Chance Toys, was the one that sold it to me. Also, pointed me in the direction to get some of these missing accessories. So yeah, it was cool. It's cool to have it. Again, never had it. Finding a Rumbler figure on eBay. Broken crotch, no accessories, but still, I've got them. I've got them next to it to hang out, so that's good. So after not having one of those for close to 40 years, finally got my hands on one. Few weeks back, and Kristian and Dave were aware because they were the first ones that I informed. I'm coming home from work. There's a thrift store, the Value Village thrift stores around Atlanta, and I stop at one down in Forest Park a lot of times on my way home from work. And I'm back in the toy section. They just remodeled not too long ago, and I found a lot of Lego and stuff there in recent years, like in boxes. They tend to be a little pricier on their toys now that they're part of the Savers company. But still, you can find some good deals there. And I look down and, there's some stuff that's just scattered on the floor, like kids have been playing with it. And I see, what looks like, I see a lot of those generic Army vehicles. And I look down and I see, that's a generic Army vehicle. Wait, that's a G.I. Joe logo. Oh my goodness. And there was a Crossfire just sitting there in this thrift store for
Crazy.
$4.
Crazy.
Fantastic shape. The wheels are still a little dirty from, obviously getting some play as a kid. None of the rockets or anything. It does have the little roll bar. What it does have, however, that my other one doesn't, first of all, this is the 49 versus my 27. So these are the two different
Whoa, I didn't
versions.
even know that was a thing.
Yep. So there were two different radio controls. So if your friend had the 27 and you had the 49, you could play with them at the same time, and they would not confuse each other.
Because your parents were totally going to coordinate that with each other. Like,
right.
Let's make sure.
But this one actually has the little cow catcher, and this one does not.
Yeah.
So that's actually a little bonus that this one had. I didn't. But yeah, I've been sitting on this little Joe and Tell for a while because, I've found some wacky things in thrift stores over the years because I do spend a lot of time, just going through, finding like both clothes and toys and other accessories. But this was probably one of my favorite thrift store finds of all time.
I mean, that's a crazy find. That's one of those finds that people talk about. Did you hear about that guy that found a Crossfire for $4?
Because I found an old beat up Ostriker once, or like a Vamp shell, things like that.
Right.
But they're all beat up, and they're usually in a bag with a bunch of other crap that I'm like, well, you know what? Do I want to buy the bag of crap just to rip it open and take the one thing out that I want that's in not great condition?
Well, like you said about it being on a shelf of generic Army stuff, that's usually what it is it's just like whatever. That's awesome. All right, Kristian, you are up.
Well, speaking of buying a bag of crap, so
I have a literal bag of crap. Because we've been going too long tonight.
Right. If you've listened to our show long enough, then you know that Noel and Dave have these wonderful experiences of going into secondhand shops and secondhand toy shops and being like, oh, look, I just happened to find this amazing deal and these incredibly rare figures that I got for a mere pittance and a chicken. That does not happen down here in Florida. I am lucky to even, I think, see classified figures on the shelves occasionally because we're like 4 waves behind from what Atlanta does. So right outside my subdivision is a consignment shop. Never has anything, to be honest. It's mostly furniture and stuff like that. And I was emptying out the storage units. So there was some stuff I wanted to get rid of. Took it there, was walking around, and lo and behold, there is one of those gallon size Ziploc baggies, and what clearly is a G.I. Joe vehicle, and then some what I thought were just broken parts of another vehicle. There's a figure, there's some loose weapons, there's some Star Wars stuff in there. It was just like this hodgepodge. But the G.I. Joe vehicle looked like it was mostly all there. So get home, clean it up, And lo and behold, I got a first edition Fang. It's missing the roll bar. The hooded Cobra Commander figure was in the bag as well. And
I
what
feel
I
like those
thought-
rotors would blow his hood right off.
the vehicle that I thought was broken because it was just a bunch of pieces was actually a Cobra Claw, and it did have the missile.
Nice.
Because it was in pieces and very loved and played with, I glued it because when I put it back together, just looking at it, it wanted to fall apart.
Yeah.
But yeah, for $30, which I feel like I would probably only get the claw for that amount.
I don't know if you'd even get a claw for that, depending on where you are. Like that's
True. The only thing the claw was missing are the two missiles on the side,
Yeah.
which
Did it have
I'll admit,
the cover for the gun that's on the back of it? The little
it
square
did.
cover? Wow. Yeah, that
Yeah.
piece is almost always gone.
Yeah. So like I said, once I cleaned everything up, and especially with the claw, when I was puzzling it back together, I was like, I'm having a David Noel moment. Is this what it feels like? Oh my
it
gosh.
is.
Now, it will never happen again, I'm sure.
Oh, don't say that.
But I mean, the Cobra Commander, all the joints are tight. The O-ring doesn't need to be replaced or anything.
It looks like the gold is still pretty good on it, the paint.
Well, so the gold there was a lot of the gold that was scratched off, and much like third-party weapons and accessories, I don't mind touching up the paint
Kristian will
on my
do some
figures.
touch-ups.
Yeah, so I took
Nothing
some
wrong
gold
with that.
paint, redid the belt. I'm trying to decide if I want to touch up on his leg or
You
not.
might as
'cause
well.
Yeah.
but as a kid, I don't remember any of our Cobra Commander figures having it. So I don't know. I might.
You're gonna take it off?
No, but I mean, just leave one
Just leave it
bit
as
of
is,
original
yeah.
paint on there, and yeah, but we'll see. He didn't have his gun, but that's okay because when we got the HasLab Sky Striker, I did open that Cobra Commander.
Okay.
So
Well, and
his vacuum gun will go with this one.
And as we know from Noel, the backs of the figures don't matter anyway.
That's true, actually.
You might as well bifurcate them just straight down and slap them on the wall. It's fine. Well, I gotta say, I think that is probably the greatest overall Joe and Tell we've ever had. And with that is all the show we've got for this week. Noel, tell us a little bit about the Finest and about Toylanta at the end of the month.
Yeah, so the Finest is an international G.I. Joe costuming group. We raise money for a fantastic charity called Canines for Warriors. And yes, we will be at Toylanta later on this month. My garrison, the Southern Command, based out of Georgia, will be there. We'll be, have some swag that you can pick up in exchange for a donation. We definitely appreciate that. You can come by, talk some G.I. Joe with us. If you ever thought about maybe dressing up like your favorite Joe character and joining us, hey, we're always recruiting. So we'd love to have you. Definitely stop by and see us, thefinestcc.com, if you want to know some more about the organization.
And Kristian, where can we find that toy photography you do so well?
You can find me on Instagram under the name Legion Cub.
And also, everybody remember to check out Pop Heist. What was it? Oh, Is that an
And the
LC?
Legion
L for
Tether.
love.
Oh my
L
gosh.
for love.
Kristian has a gang sign. That's crazy. Our music is by Andy Sanford of electricminnowmusic.com. Be sure to follow us at Audible Interlude Podcast on Instagram. I will also be wandering around at Toylanta, not in any official capacity, but I will have itty bitty ditty bags. Our next live stream is right here on the Needless Things YouTube channel on March the 24th. Put it on your calendar. And until then, Yo, Joe.
Cool.